Your dog is dozing, eyes closed, breathing slow. You whisper their name. Before the sound even forms, their ear flicks toward you, eyes open, head turns. But what just happened isn't what you think it is. Your dog knows their name, but not as the personal label you imagine. They're reading something completely different. That moment when Bella lifts her head isn't recognition of self, it's recognition of you. Before you even speak, your dog is already scanning your posture, tracking your gaze, reading the micro movements of your hands. The name you call becomes a complex signal about what's coming next between the two of you. Your dog does recognize that specific sound pattern you've been repeating for years, but for them, it functions more like a high-priority alert system. Those syllables predict that something is about to happen with you specifically. The real story isn't about how dogs think of themselves. It's about how expertly they read us. Dogs process the emotional melody in your voice using brain regions that partially mirror human language processing. Researchers have found that dogs distinguish a praising tone from a neutral one, responding most strongly when a warm tone and warm words line up together. Your emotional state leaks through pathways your dog monitors constantly. Vocal tension changes the frequency patterns of even familiar words. Body stiffness alters how you hold your shoulders. Micro-expressions flash across your face in the milliseconds before speech. Dogs integrate all these signals along with the name itself. Research demonstrates dogs recognize familiar human faces and show preference for known faces over strangers in photographs. They track your identity more reliably than they hold any concept of their own name as personal identity. Before Bella leaves your mouth, your dog has already categorized this interaction based on your emotional signature. Your shoulders orientation tells them whether you're focused on them or distracted. Your gaze direction indicates if this interaction will involve them directly, whether your hand moves toward the treat jar or the bathtub. All of this gets processed before the sound waves hit their ears. Studies show dogs respond to human emotional odors. Stress and fear chemosignals can increase vigilance behaviors in animals who smell them. Your dog is reading your biochemical state alongside your voice and posture, building a complete picture of what this name-calling moment means. Most dog owners choose short, clear names like Max, Luna, or Kiko because dogs orient reliably to distinctive sound patterns. Dogs can discriminate between familiar words and similar-sounding nonsense words, but they make errors when sounds are acoustically close. The cleaner the sound distinction, the stronger their response. One famous border collie named Rico learned to recognize over 200 object names. He could fetch specific toys on command and even pick out a brand new item when he heard a word he had never been taught, simply by ruling out the toys he already knew. Other exceptional dogs have learned vocabularies reaching 1,000 words. But even these striking cases show pragmatic learning tied directly to fetching games and reward systems. No evidence suggests these dogs think about words as free-floating concepts the way humans do. The learning stays anchored to specific contexts and behaviors. For typical pet dogs, response to their exact name from their main humans stays strong, but response weakens dramatically from strangers or when the name gets embedded differently. Maxwell versus Max can produce different response levels from the same dog. Context and voice identity do heavy lifting alongside the actual sound pattern. The name functions like a pay-attention marker. Dogs learn this particular sound predicts further information is coming: a command, a gesture, a treat, or social interaction. What follows the name matters more than the name itself. Research shows no strong evidence that average dogs think that sound stands for the entity that is me, distinct from other dogs. What dogs master is associative conditioning. Name sound gets repeatedly paired with orienting behavior and reward, creating a conditioned cue that grabs attention efficiently. The dog's brain responds differently to a familiar word than to an unfamiliar one. But they show special sensitivity to prosody, the emotional melody carrying the words. In noisy environments or with unfamiliar voices, name response drops off clearly. This suggests voice identity and emotional context do heavy lifting alongside the sound pattern recognition. A stern Bella can override thousands of cheerful Bellas in that specific moment. The dog's decision to approach, freeze, or retreat leans heavily on the emotional color, wrapping around those familiar syllables. Dogs read your face and your voice together, combining the two to tell whether you are angry or happy. From the dog's perspective, the name doesn't just mean me. It means you, in interaction with me, tightly bound to your face, your smell, your daily habits. The name becomes inseparable from the relationship itself. Training history shapes response patterns dramatically. Dogs whose names get used mostly as warnings may flinch rather than happily orient when called. Dogs whose names predict good things show eager attention and approach behaviors. The emotional associations built over time rewrite how the name functions. Age affects processing mechanisms. Puppies orient to any excited vocalization before learning to isolate their specific name from general happy sounds. Older dogs with hearing loss rely more heavily on visual and vibrational cues, watching for the mouth movements and body language that accompany name calling. Breed differences exist, but data remains limited. Herding breeds and working lines selected for human-directed attention often show faster name response times. But individual variation within breeds exceeds variation between breeds for most measures. Even when trying to deliver names neutrally, emotion leaks through clenched teeth or forced breath control. This creates different acoustic signals than truly relaxed delivery of the same syllables. Dogs pick up on these subtle variations, responding to the authentic emotional state rather than the intended neutral tone. The name becomes a handle that lets dogs quickly grab prosodic cues and reorient attention appropriately. Dogs develop whole prosodic profiles for different situations involving their name. Morning name calling sounds different from evening name calling, which sounds different from emergency name calling. When you call your dog's name, they're not hearing a simple word. They're reading you through sound, mood, body orientation, and shared history built over months or years. In that fraction of a second between sound and response, they decide how to answer your invitation based on everything you're communicating beyond the syllables. Your dog knows their name, but as a complex signal about relationship and expectation, not as an identity label. They're experts at reading the human behind the sound. That's a much more sophisticated skill than simple word recognition. It's reading you.